If I only knew then what I know now. How many of you have said that in the audience? How many of you have heard that in the audience? Well, what if I told you there's a way that you could actually do that? Real Back to the Future stuff, right? When I was a kid, that's me at 2. I'm a cute kid, right? My life was hard, but it wasn't as hard as it could have been. I had 2 parents that were both disabled. They did the best that they could. But in the back of my mind, I always had this fear that I was going to be homeless. I didn't even really know what homeless meant. I just knew that it was bad. So I put my head down, I got to work, and I made a pretty successful career out of myself. But there was just something in the back of my mind that was unfulfilled. I had like a higher calling. I just didn't know what that was yet. If I only knew then what I know now. This is where we start to talk about time travel. I had a really good friend of mine that came into my store and asked to put a collection barrel in the store, food barrel. Now, obviously, we're a surf and skate shop. We didn't really understand that people were going hungry. So we put the barrel in the store, and not that much food actually got put in that barrel. But she said something when she was leaving the business. She said, do you know that 1 in 8 kids are going hungry in Santa Cruz County right now? That was 2003. She walked out the door. I want you guys to look around right now and realize that 1 in 4 kids are going hungry in Santa Cruz County. That's 2012. Right there, Grind Out Hunger was born. My life changed forever. And I realized that going hungry was a circumstance. It wasn't a choice. Kids don't choose to go hungry. I knew that if I could get in front of the right audience, specifically surfers and skaters, because we're already a tight-knit community, surfers and skaters. How many of you heard the term couch surfing? Oh, where do you think that came from? But I knew if I could get in front of the kids, I knew if I could actually talk to them and engage them and explain to them what was going on, that maybe their friends were going hungry, that they possibly, no, I knew actually, that they wouldn't tolerate it, and that they would get behind it, and they would actually do something about it. As I made my way through the school system and talking to these kids, I realized that by empowering them and giving them the opportunity, that they would actually do something about that they would actually engage and take it upon themselves and run with this mission of feeding kids and making sure that their friends weren't going hungry. You see, kids have an amazing power. They have the ability to change things. They have the ability to travel back in time. So when I speak to these kids in the schools, we have dialogue. They come up to me, they ask me questions. They want to know how they can help. They want to know what they can do. And I started to realize something, that if properly given the guidance, if believed in, and I support them in all their big, hairy, audacious goals that they set, that they would actually make a difference. Oh, Holly Borg. How many of you know Holly Borg? She's an amazing girl. When I first met Holly, I was Santa Cruz High. She was the person that got me in there to be able to speak to the kids, and there was a whopping 4 kids I got to speak to, the ASB. This was not uncommon in the school systems when I would go try to talk to the kids. They didn't know where to put me. But what I saw in Holly was a vibrant, intelligent, energetic young woman who was very passionate about feeding kids. We came up with some serious out-of-the-box opportunities. She's like, let's give away a car. Let's raffle off iPods. Let's go door to door during Halloween and trick or treat for food. I was like, okay, sure, whatever you want to do, I guess. We can make it work. But really what surprised me over the next 3 years was how much of a community member this young lady became. She became the Interact District 5170 governor. She ran the Rotary Harvest Council for Second Harvest Food Bank. At one point, it was, and it still is, more kids coming to that meeting than there are adults. You could clap. I think the most amazing thing about Holly Borg is that she's actually been a part of a team of kids that have raised over $120,000 for local nonprofits in Santa Cruz County. Now she's going to school to become a doctor. Wesley Hobbs, I actually didn't get a chance to meet him right out of the gate. I spoke at St. Francis again. It was my inaugural speech. And as I do sometimes, I'm engaging the kids and I'm asking them to set goals. And they came up with a 10,000 meal goal. Now, the funniest thing was, John Marheineke was the teacher that actually brought me to St. Francis, quickly grabbed me as I left the auditorium and said, "What did you just do? These kids have never raised a dime of money or an ounce of food. How are we going to do 10,000 meals? We only have 250 kids." And I said, I was already Facebooking it in the parking lot. I said, "Don't worry about it, man. They're going to figure it out. Just let them do what they're going to do." They raised 13,000 meals that year, that very first year. But Wesley Hobbs actually contacted me because I give my cards out at the schools. I give him my cell number. My wife thinks I'm crazy. I'm texting with kids all the time. And he said, "I want to create a clothing line. I want to make something where I can donate my profits back." I laughed. I said, "Good luck. I have a retail business. I can't sell the t-shirts that are getting millions of dollars of branding. How are you going to sell a t-shirt?" Well, to cut the story short, he actually ended up creating the clothing line, getting some press, landed the cover of the Sentinel. And that first weekend we brought the clothes into my retail business, we sold every single one of them. Now, he's selling them on the boardwalk. Now he's also selling them in other stores, and he's donating that money back to Grind Out Hunger. You see, kids, they're amazing, right? I get to time travel through these guys. I get to talk to them. I get to listen to them. I get to empower them. If you give kids a chance, they have amazing capabilities that we're not tapping constantly. As I look back over the last couple years, and I've realized this mission that I've embarked on and going to these schools and talking to these kids and empowering them, I'm watching them grow. I'm watching them become great community people. But I think the biggest thing that I'm starting to understand is that kids were born open. That's just how they are. They don't have to think. If you ask a kid, "Hey, your friend's going hungry, will you feed him?" Unequivocally, succinctly, on the spot, "Yes, I will." I wish we all could do that. I really do. I vicariously celebrate through these kids, their successes and their failures, because failure is just a path to success. These kids are moving mountains. These kids are doing amazing things. So I ask you, why? Why are we not engaging our youth across every single facet of societal problems and encouraging them to provide solutions? I ask two things to kids when I leave. In fact, I make them promise me two things when I leave their schools. I say, first of all, don't do anything you're not passionate about. And two, please always believe you can make a difference in someone's life. As I leave their schools and as I start to understand what I've become a part of with these school systems and the youth of today, is that if given the opportunity, if given the guidance, if given the support, if given the resources, I know that these kids can travel. I know that these kids can travel to the future, now, solve the problems now that we're having, not having to wait till they become our age to sit back and say, "If I only knew then what I know now." It doesn't do any good. It doesn't matter. They do know now. I knew now. When I was a kid, I just didn't have anybody to ask me to help. That's the secret ingredient. Asking them to help. Not telling them, asking them. The next time you hear, "If I only knew then what I know now," I'm sure it will have a much different meaning for you. And I also want you to know that if given the opportunity, kids can time travel. Kids can solve the problems of today, now. We don't have to wait to let them do it later. And they can't. They must start now. This is a quote that we have on our website, and it's kind of the mantra I've lived by since I started doing this. The secret message communicated to most young people today by the society around them is that they are not needed, that society will run itself quite nicely until they, at some distant point in the future, will take over the reins. Yet the fact is that the society is not running itself nicely because the rest of us need all the energy, brains, imagination, and talent that young people can bring to bear down on our difficulties. For society to attempt to solve its desperate problems without the full participation of even very young people is imbecile. Thank you.